Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to pick up from the bottom of Daf Samech Amid Bais, and Yetz Hashem, we're going to try to get all the way to the end of Samech Zayin Amid Bais. Let's jump right into it. We learned last week a brisa. We saw it said there was a brisa that says as follows. If it would have said in the Torah Zevech Yecharam without saying Elakim, I would have said we're talking about what? Shechting Kachim Bechutz. So Amamar Hayisi Ayimir Bezayvech Kachim Bechutz Akasim Medaber. And that for the Gemara, Zayvich Kachim Bechutz is Karasu. L'chayr it's Karas. So Zak the Mar Saka Daitachamina Ki Asur Bey. When you get Asra, you get Katala. Ki Lo Asur Bey. Whenever there's no Asra, Ki Lo Asur Bey, you wouldn't it. Kamash Malon. That what Lelekim to tell us. You've shecht Lelekim Beloi Kachim Lechutz. Amalei Ravo Bar Rav Chanan La Abaya. Ema Yatza Shtachava. The Torah is coming to tell us Shtachava for what? Lelamed ala klal kulai. It's time to tell us on bechlal, on everything. For example, neshika and all those other types. V'chitem, you're going to tell me zayveach lamali. If so, why do I need zayveach? And that thing more answers. Yishlema the what? Legufei. The mechashvina ma'avoida la avoida. For example, person shechting the animal, and what's his cheshbon? His cheshbon is the dam that comes from the animal. That he's going to do for avodah zara. The itmar ha'sheichet behema lizrek dama la avodas kachavim. You want to be maked the chaylev la'avodas kachavim. So Rabbi Yechanan Amar, when the top of Samach Aleph Amar Aleph, Yechanan wants to say it's asura. It's aser ba'ana. Reish Lakish Amar mutaris. Zok the Marnich Rabbi Yechanan. El Reish Lakish, according to Reish Lakish, it says mutaris ba'ikra. You need a pasuk. So Maskalar Apapa Rabbi Yechanan, is this really true? Loi ba'ikra. Ad kan lekas Rabbi Yechanan dafka lebehema. Ava gavro loi barkatalu atal. You've also caught to tell us comes the pasuk lechuyu v'gavro lekatala. So Zok the Helig Gemara Maskala Rachab Daviko Reish Lakish. Forget about Rabbi Yechanan. Why are you only picking Rabbi Yechanan? What happened to Reish Lakish? Reish Lakish mi ba'ikra. I'd kind of like show Reish Lakish. I'll tell you behema. Aval Gavra, a person. I will tell you Barkatolu. Midi dahava mishtachave lahar. Just like if a person is mishtachave to a mountain, the har itself is mechubat el karka. That itself is mutter. However, someone who's oividar, the oivda is besayf. Amalei of Acha medifti l'Ravina. L'mayde kamalei Rava bar Rav Chanan La Abaya. Ema yatza shtachavot to tell us what. Lamed ala klal kuli yatza. If this is really true, lema klal kulai. Then we have a pasuk that says in the Torah in Dvarim Yud Beis Lamed. It says Eicho Yavdu. How do these amim? How do these nations serve? Lemute mai. What do you need to come to tell me? I already have a pasuk coming to tell me this. For example, someone who does avodah zara, that he does his toya, etc. That was the way they served avodah zara by a balpar. And a scenario where it was lezayvchem, in a scenario where be'etzem you use it to shech. No one does such a case. You would tell me that what you potter. Mishtachava nafka. We already learned that from mishtachava that what ma mishtachava is derech kibut. Afkol is derech kibut. Ela lemute. You know what the case would be? Hapoyer atzmoi. Le Markulis. Markulis, we learned, is a certain type of avodah zara. We're going to see that it's two stones, how it's built with stones, and they'll throw the stones in it to destroy it. Is bizayinu. Maisa throwing the stones is bizayin. So too, I'll tell you, afkol, every case is bizayin. Kamash Milan. Comes the pasuk of what? Of Eicha Yavaidu to tell us, not like that. How do you know a person shechs an animal for this type of avodah zara of stones that Yechayiv shenemar, like it says in the pasuk? Which means over here to the shade. I don't need it for the derech. Why? How do I know regular kedarka is mutter? That's aser. So elamai tnu inyan l'shalai kedarka. Frak the Gemara shalai kedarka. We already learned it now. Mishtachava nafka. My answer is hasam bezaveyach lahachis. In a scenario where you shechted, not really for avodah zara, more as a kas. In such a case, in the chidushes, and even such a scenario, you are chayv. Rabbi Amnuna, irchesu le'toyri. Agav, they mentioned there, Amnuna lost his oxen, and while he was going to look for it, he was still Isaac b'toyra. So pagebe Rava. Rava bumps into him, and Ramale masnisa adodi. He has a shver, he has a steer in the Mishnayos. Why? It says, Tanana v'aydes kachavim. Oyved ayves kachavim. Now Mishnah clearly says that what? Someone who's oyved, ayves kachavim. Oyvedin, dafka, if he serves these getchkas, these avodah zaras. But Aimer, if he only says he's going to do it, he's not chayiv. Frek the Marvan Tanan. We're going to see this mamish later in Samach Zayin. It says Aimer evoid. If someone says I'm going to serve, or Eilich ve'evoid, I am serving, or I'm going to serve, or Neilach navad. We're going to see that in the Mishnah. Any of those three cases, you're chayiv. So Amalei ba'aymer eini mekablei ella b'havoida. Only in a scenario, you say, I'm only mekablei b'havoida. In such a case, avad, the only time you chayiv is when you taka do it. Rav Yosef Amar Tanoi. Rav Yosef says, sorry, Rav Yosef Amar Tanoi, check out the ma'ama. You're gathering all these Tanoim, what are you doing? That's it's a machloikis Tanoim, Tanoi, the Tanya. Ha'aymer boi v'avduni. A person says, let's go serve getchkas. So what's the halacha? Rav Meir mechayev. Rav Meir holds the ma'aseh mechayev. Rav Yehuda is paiter. So zaktim arhecha the b'halchu kulam leiplihi. In a scenario where everyone listened to you telling the ilam do avodah zarah, there's no machlokes techsev like it says in the Torah. Leisasil chapesel. You should not make an idol, a getchka for yourself. However, where's the machlokes? Key pligi is dafka b'dibur ba'alma. Rav Meir saw that what dibur is milsi. Rav Yehuda saw the ma'aseh dibur just talking la milsi. It's nothing. Hadam Rav Yosef L'Maisa. Rav Yosef says La Milsi. What I said L'Maisa is wrong. Why? Da'amri dafilu Rav Yehuda. Even Rav Yehuda b'dibur nami chiyuvim mechayiv. The Tanam we have a Mishnah Rav Yehuda. Imela oilam in mechayiv. Ad sheyoymer. Mamish this case. Avoid. I'm going to serve elich v'avod or nelich v'navod. So b'may kamifligid. Then what's the machlekes? Now that we understand that Rav Yehuda also agrees. What's the machlekes? Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda. Dr. Mara b'meisis la'atzmai. He wants other people to serve him. In such a case, and the Amri lay in, and they say, yes, we're going to serve you kamiflgi. That's machlekes. That what? Mar saver and Meir holds mesis la'atzma shamilay. A person they're going to listen to him. The in and what they said. Yes, the Amri it's taka kushtu, and they're very serious about serving the getchka. Umar saver b'yudol's mesis la'atzma loy shamilay. In such a scenario, they're not going to listen. They tell themselves when samach alaf on beis. Ma'ishna iu minan didan. Why is he better than us? Who are you to say here avodah zarah? You think you're going to be a getchka and I'm not? The in and what they were saying, yes, Avada, we're going to serve you. The Kamri, Achuchi Alei, they're just making fun of him. But Avada, they never had a havmina to serve him as a getchka. Umas nisin kan. Our mission, the ratio, what are we going to want to say is what? Be yachid hanissis. We're going to be mechalik. You know, you can be mechalik if it's a yachid or rabbin. When it's a yachid, then we're going to see it's a little different. We're not going to be chayzer. By Mekan, but the Sefer is talking about what? By Rabbim and Isasim. The Gemara is masber. Yachid loy mimlech v'toy basrei. A person is not going to retract after he says, yes, I'm going to serve you, and therefore they're going to go follow him. Rabbim, once it's a Rabbin, they all think about it a little more, even if they said yes, mimlechi v'loy to basrei, and they're not going to serve him afterwards. Amar Rav Yosef ben Aminallah. Where do we know this? Be mechalik between a Yachid and a Rabbim. Zok the Mardichsiv, it says in the Torah, you should not consent to him. You should not listen to him. However, if you are listening to him or you have consent, chayiv. So by me shani benisas harabim lenisas yach. Is this really true? V'atanya says in the pasuk, when a person instigates your brother, the son of your mother, evincha vitcha, v'chulei ein shom in the pasuk, echad yachid hanisas. The Torah is coming to tell us whether it's a yachid, the echad rabim anisasim. So why is the kasav, why is the pasuk coming to be mitzi? V'haitzah kasav yachid mechlal rabim, v'rab mechlal yachid. And so Zok the Mar as follows. Yachid mechlal rabbi. You know why it's come to tell you a yachid? And it's going to be mitzi. L'hachmir al gufay. We all know regarding a yachid, he gets skila. Regarding a rabbin, what's he get? We're going to see he gets herek. However, l'hakol ha'mamayna by er nidachas, what do? We destroy everything. Mashenk in a yachid, we don't destroy it. The rabbin mechlal yachid l'hakol ha'gufam that they get just herek. L'hachmir ha'mamayna that we burn everything. So, but Mal Milsu the Shani, we make a dig. This is the Gemara's question. Dafka, in such a case where Mechaluk between a Yachid and a Rabbim, is what regarding the Misa and regarding Mamainam. Ava Bechal Mili, everything else regarding listening to him. Kiadadininu, it's the exact same thing. What's the Chilik? Elam Rabaya kan benisses mipi atzmoi, kan benisses mipi achem. What's the difference? Mars Masber. Mipi atzmoi mimlech. When a person is doing it himself, they're going to follow him. Piacherim, schayzim piacherim, gara basrayu, they follow. Zokta bayom abaymin aminallah dechsevet says in the Torah, loisayve loy veloy sishma loy. You should not consent to listen to him. And Rava wants to say no. Amar idi v'idi benisses mi piacherim taka acherim shlek them do avodah zarah. Ha, when he's not chayzedam like kach oicheles. He says this is what the getchka does. It eats kach shaisa, drink kach mativa. This is what it does. It's good kach maria. In such a case where he gets to know him, he's taka not chayzer. In the scenario he's not chayzer. That's when he's not going to be chayzer. When is he chayzer? Ha, the loyam like kach oicheles, kach shaisa, whatever kach mativa kach maria. In such a scenario, he's going to be chayzer. Amar Ravim in Aminallah dechsev like it says in the Torah. In Dvarim, Elehei Amim Asher Sivu Sesechem Hakroivim Elecha V'Gomer. If you look inside the pasuk, it says Arachaykim Mincha Mkse'aretz V'Kse'aretz to tell you what Mali Kroivim Mali Rechaykim. What are we comparing Kroivim Rechaykim to? It's very easy to say, oh, there's a getchka in Eretz Yisrael, and everyone falls for it. Masha'enkein, a local getchka, everyone really knows what it's about. My love, the Amalei isn't a scenario. The Amalei kach echeles, kach shaisa, kach metiva, kach merias. In such a case, when you know about a shmam, you know we see the concept. What when you say what it's about, you're not chayser. Rav Ashi wants to say, no, Ba'atzim, I'll tell you, Seifa, when are we saying that a person's chayiv? Be Yisrael mummer. And Rashi's masber, once you accepted it, you're not chayzer in such a case because you're hufka bekach. Ravina Amar, no. Ravina argued and said, no. Rather, we're talking about a regular Yisrael gomer. So what's the chelik between the Reisha and the Seifa? The Reisha is Oivin, the Seifa is Loizu Avzuktani, which means to say it's not just a Oivil Bavad, the La'afa Oimer, even someone who's Oimer, the halacha is chayiv. Itmar. Ha'oivid, avoid this kachavim. Now we're going to go into the big shaila of someone's oivid kachavim, not because he wants to. Rather, mahava miyira, whether he's worried about it or it's coming out of a hava. So it's a big machlekes Abaye and Rava. I'm going to go through this quite extensively. Abaye amachai, Rava potter. Abaye wants to say amachai lamaisa da pachal. Lamaisa they serve the getchka. So what do you want from them? Rava am potter. Rava wants to say no. Lamaisa you potter. Why? I kibla le belahai in. Eloi loi. Depends. If you're mekabelit lemaisa as a getchka, but not mahavir, you wanted to serve this getchka, then this avodah zara you chayiv. Otherwise, you're not chayiv. Now we're going to bring Abaye is going to bring three simonim. Gemara is going to bring three simonim to Abaye that ahava me'yira. In such a case, you chayiv. Simen eved yishtachiv l'mashiach. The Omer Abaye minah. I'll bring you a raya. The Tanan oivid is kachavim, and it says echad oivid b'chulei. In such a scenario where, for example, a person does ishtachava, he's put to my love echad oivid mahavi yemira. So when it says oivid is kachavim, it's quite clearly even ahavi yechayev. Where I said, Rambam is going to tell you no. Amalach loy the Matayr, it's Reb Yirmiyah. Like Reb Yirmiyah already learned earlier, we explained that kol havoida shehi kedarka. That's the point. Echad mezbech shalai kedarka, but avada, the Reisha and the Seifa, they're both for what? L'shem avoida zara. Amar Abaye tries to bring another rhyme. No, Aminallah the Tanya says in the Patayr leisishtacha ve'elahem be'leisa avdein. A person like you could be mishtachva. Maybe even someone who's like Haman, we all know that they bow down to him. Even someone like Haman, right? You should not bow down to him. We all know Haman also considered himself as Avodah Zarah. He considered himself as a god. Fact the Gemara, and this is the Gemara's Kashava. Haman miyir havenevod. Haman, they served him. Why? Because it says in Megillah, Kichain Sivaloi Hamelach and Afapikin Yechayev. So Rav is going to tell you. Rav is going to say it's not a good raya. Kahaman v'loi Kahaman. Kahaman di ugofei avodas kachavim. V'loi Kahaman di ilu Haman didi miyira v'hacha is la miyira. Okay, Abaye is going to try the last raya. V'ama Abaye mina law. The Tanya says Kay Mashiach b'avodas kachavim. So to explain this very quickly, it's a big machlekes. It's quite extensive. What is the halachas regarding a person? We all know whenever a person does something b'mezid, he's chayiv karis. When he does it b'shaygig, he's chayiv chatas. Now, what is the regular avera if a stam person does avera? The halacha is, what does he bring? He has to bring either a seira or he brings a sheep, whether it's a she-goat or a sheep. However, if he does avodah zarah, he dafka has to bring a seira. Same thing with a melech. A melech, when it comes to avodah zarah, they all bring seira. The only time when it comes to avodah zarah they're not going to bring a seira is what? When the tzibur, the whole para elam shal tzibur, when everyone does it tzibur, that the Sanhedrin made a mistake, and right people was over that, then you bring a par, not just a par, you also have to bring the bull and the he-goat. That is the halacha by avodah zarah. However, regarding stam aveira, depends if you're an adam, regular person, if you're a melech, if you're a kohen gadol, or tzibur, etc. However, now we're going to see this in machlekes. What is the halacha kohen gadol does of avodah zarah? Now we know when he does his stama aveira kohen gadol, he has to bring a par, but it's dafka if it's nelam mimenu the halacha. However, when it's avodah zarah, he brings a what? The seira. Now the only shaila is what is the circumstances. So we're going to see this. That what the tani kohen mashiach dafka mashiach avodas kechavim who's over the avodah zarah b'shaygik Rabbi Aimer b'shiggas maisa. Just like a regular scenario, Rabbi wants to say it's no different because shiggas maisa like a regular stam maisa. Just like a stam yisrael, that is the halacha. However, Chachamim Oimrim Behelam Davar, it has to be that what, when he does the Aver himself, it's very certain criteria. However, Vishavin, we're not going to get so stuck in this because that's not the Raya of the Gemara. Vishavin Shebesira could be Yachid. They both agree that it brings a Seira. Vishavin Sheimay V'Hashim Tola. Now, this is the Gemara's question. Hi Shigagas Maisa, how b'chlal could you have a Shagaga by Avodah Zara? The Avodah Chacham Heichen Davi. Manashachik, so basic Knesset Zubish Tachava, you thought it was a what? A shul, you're passing by, you bow down to it. Hurry, leave Shemaim. It's not about the Zara. Ella, the what? The Chazah. On a darty saw a certain statue, Vishtachava, and you bow down to the statue. So, for Manashach. E Kibla Lebelahai. If you accept it as a Getchka, as a god, Mezidu. The like Kibla Lebelahai, like Klumu. So, what's going on? Ella Lav. Chayr, this Abai is Bam Raya, Mahavi Meira. Virava is going to tell you no. Virama Lacha Lai. Mutter. We're talking about where the guy Mamish thought it was mutter. It's not considered shigam. It's maisa. He thought that there's what? There's no by this kacham b'chlam in the Torah. Frakti Mara Aimer mutter. Hainu helam davar. Even Rabbanan agrees. Mara says, but Aimer mutter legamri. Helam davar is kiyam mitzvah so bitul mitzvahs. Helam davar is, for example, avada. He knows there's avodah zara, and he knows you're not allowed to burn something for avodah zara. However, what he thinks is, he thinks a person could do a shtachava. He just thought zibuach is us. Tani Reb Zakai Kamed Reb Yochanan. Zik Zibeach, if a person shechs v'kiter v'nisech v'shtachava, any of these four, be'elam echad, in one time, einoi chayev ela achas, he's only chayev for one chatas. This is what Reb Zakai. Amar lei, because of this, Reb Yochanan, we're going to go through this throughout the whole entire daf. Because of this, what did Reb Yochanan do? He threw him out. Poik Tani Levra, please leave, he tells him. You're making a mistake. Now we're going to see the Ikad Amri, the first mahalach, the whole Amid Aleph is going to be one mahalach. Amid Beis, we're going to have another mahalach. What exactly happened? Why Rabbi Yochanan threw out Rabbi Zakai by saying this concept? Amar Rabbi Abba, Had Amar Rabbi Zakai. I don't understand. Rabbi Abba tells us, he knows bother. Why did Rabbi Yochanan throw him out? Machlekes, Be'etzim Rabbi Zakai says, the Machlekes Rabbi Yosef Nasan. The Tanya says in the Torah Havara. What Pshat says in the Torah Havara? The what? The Lav Yotzes. Divrei Rabbi Yosef. It's a big shaila. We all know this Lamates Melachos. So why we be mechalik? If you look inside the Torah, it clearly tells us Dafka Oso Havara, and we already know this. Leisasika Malacha. So Elamites Machlekes Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Nasan. Rabbi Yosef wants to say, comes to tell us the only chayiv a lavi, not going to chayiv like all other mises. Rabbi Nasan, no. Lechalik Yatza to tell us that what? That it's separate chatas, even though you did multiple melachos, that it's not just bekares. Rather, it's lechalik to tell us that what? It's different than all other av melachos, and we know from there that any time a person does av melachos, he's chayiv for each and every one. Zok tomorrow. According to what? According to Shittas Rabbi Yosef, Shtachava Nami Lav Yatza. Just like we were doing by Havara, we might say it to a dim b'Shtachava. Leman Dama Havara Lechalik Yatza. I'll tell you the same thing. Hishtachava Nami Lechalik Yatza. And the shaila is if you chayim multiple chatas and that is really machlekes what? Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Nasan. So why are you making it? Why did Rabbi Yochanan throw it Rabbi Zakai out of the basic nest? Maskif la Rabbi Yosef. Dema can like Rabbi Yosef Hasa Mavar Lav Yatza. I'll tell you the nekuda of Rabbi Yosef to tell us that what Yovel Lav Yatza the nafka lechiluk malachos. We're going to see ma'achas mehena. If it says in the Torah regarding a person who does a shkaga, nafesh ki sechto b'shkaga mikol mitzvah Hashem asher lo yisasana v'asa me'achas mehena. And he doesn't one of them of many. And we're going to see what's it mean, one of them. We're going to learn out from this exactly what this means. The Tanya. Rabbi Yosef, when it says in the Torah, Va'asa ma'achas mehina, to tell us, Pamim shechayev al kula. There's scenarios, achas al kula, it's very possible chayev multiple. Pamim, and sometimes chayev in each and every aver. What's this mean? Pam shechayev al kol achas achas. My time with Rabbi Yosef, the Chsev says in the Torah, Va'asa ma'achas, you do one of them from many. Mehina. Achas me'achas. You can have one part of one. And heina meheina. And you can have many for many of them. What's that mean? Achas one she heina veheina she achas. For example, achas Shimon me'achas shema Shimon. A person writes on Shabbos Shimon, even though he stopped right after the two letters, the halacha is he's still chayiv. Heina avos meheina toldus. Right? That's part of the toldus. Achas shehi heina. How could it be that you have one that's many? Zadin Shabbos, for example. He knows that it's Shabbos. However, he didn't know that it's also to drive on Shabbos, to do ksira, to do tchina, v'chulei. V'shaggois melachis. And he did multiple melachis. The halacha is, since you knew it was Shabbos, you just didn't know it was Asr, the halacha is Yechayiv in each and every one, Yechayiv many chatas. Heina, Shiachas, what's the case of? Heina, which is many, which is one, Shigra Shabbos, you thought it was Tuesday, but if you would have known that it's Shabbos, you never would have done all these melachas, or dozen melachas. The halacha is since, very nice you did multiple melachas, but you only chayiv for one. Aval hacha delay nafgale chiluk melachos meduchtach v'tida kulam. Aval mesha over here. That you're not comparing, you can't compare the chiluk melachas to kulam or Rabbi Yisrael or Nasan Ishtachava as the chalik yatsa. Fraktimara chiluk melachas davadas kam nami tepelay machas meina. We can play the same thing, just like on Shabbos we're saying. There's one verse other melachos. For example, take shchita. Achas zvicha. We all know the shchita. Me achas siman echad. In order to do shchita, what do you have to do? You have to cut two pipes. Cut the trach and the esophagus. So maybe if someone just cut one pipe, you'll say it's a shchita. Hein avos. Zibuach. And I'll tell you the case of zibuach. Kita nisach v'shtachava. Hein atalvos. And what would be a case of shchita, for example? Shavar makal. For now, you crack a what? A stick. It's no different than doing a shchita. And achas shehiena. How do you have one which is many, for example? Zodayin avodas kechavim. You knew about what? You knew that what avada is such a thing as avodas kechavim and avodas zara. V'shigur ba'avodas. You didn't know kitas aser or zibuch or other cases. Heino shiachas is what? Shigas avodas kechavim zodan avodas. You bechlal knew that a shtachava is aser, but you didn't know that this bechlal is avodas zara. So for Gemara, this is what we're bringing now. Hi, Shigas avodas kechavim heichidami manavshach. We saw this earlier in the bottom of Bais Medrash Ohr Chaim. Ella, you're going to tell me the way you saw a statue, the chazah, and a dart of a sagalei. If you makabel as a getchki, a regular mason. Eloi kabla le le klumu. Ella, you're going to tell me what? Ma'ava v'yira. Sanich Allah by damachayiv. Ella ravadam apatamaikel meima. What are you going to say? Ella, what are you going to tell me? Ba'im mutter. So what? The guy thought it was B'chlam Mutter. Then Tifshoy, Debay Minei Rava, Merav Nachman, regarding Shabbos, and just like Shabbos, who then avoid the Zar, you can have the Shaila. Ha'helem, Zeh v'zeh b'yadoi mau. He had a Shaila. What happens if you don't know it's Shabbos, and you didn't know B'chlal it's Aser? So Tifshoy, you should bring a raya from here, and because he doesn't have such a Shaila, you see, you can't learn it from it that it was a case of Oim Mutter. So on that, right away, the Gemara question. I don't understand. Why don't we bring it as a raya? So you can't say that this pasuk of Achas Meheno is talking about avodas kechavim. The Ilach Iksev by the Mashiach. It says that what? This is our mayor. That what it says b'Mashiach par ubenasi par. The halach is b'Mashiach. What do you have to bring? You bring a par. Ubenasi. What do you bring? A sawyer. Ubiyachid. What do you bring? The kipsa and the seira. V'ilu b'avas kechavim tanan. We even the whole machlekes we learned earlier. Tanan v'shavin. They both agree. Shebasir kabiyachid. So therefore, you have a bam raya that you cannot say the achas mehena has anything to do with the zara. And the Gemara finalized with what? V'sul loy midi. There's nothing to discuss further. L'chayr, it's a bam raya. Okay, now we're going to see Ikadamri. What was the dialogue between what Reb Zakkai said and to Rabbi Yochanan and why he threw him out. Ki Aser Rav Shmuel. We're going to bring another version of Rabbi Yehuda Amar. This is what happened. Hachi, one Samach Beis Amar Beis. Hachi Tanakamit. This is what Reb Zakkai said to Rabbi Yochanan. Chaymer b'Shabbos mishar mitzvahs and chaymer b'shar mitzvahs mi b'Shabbos. That there's a chumrah of Shabbos regarding other mitzvahs and same thing lahepich. Chaymer b'Shabbos that watch Shabbos. We all know asashtayim b'alam echad. A person we're going to see does two malachas at one time without realizing. That halach is chayv kol achas achas. Mashen b'shar mitzvahs, and we're going to see what this means. Chaymer b'shar mitzvahs sheb'shar mitzvahs. We all know shagag b'loy miskav and the ma'isa. Even without kavanah, it doesn't make a difference. You're still chayv. However, we know regarding Shabbos, it doesn't work like that. Mashen b'Shabbos, we're going to see malachas machshavas aser Torah. So Amar, let's see it. Chaymer b'Shabbos Shabbos aser shtayim v'chulei. What's the case? Hey chidami frektamar. Ilem what? The avak sir v'tchina. So this is what Reb Zakkai tells Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan's response is, Rav Zakkai, the man of Shekhinah, making sense, and this is why he's throwing him out of the shul. Hey chidami. Ilem the what? The avak sir v'tchina. You did two malachas, the kavasa, gabashar mitzvahs. What? What would the case of shar mitzvahs? Doch chel v'dam. Hachatarti b'chayv, hachatarti b'chayv. Both cases you chayv too. Ella, what are you going to tell me? Gabishar mitzvahs deina chayv alachas. What's the case? That you ate chaylev twice. Be'elam achas the kafasa gabishabes would be ksira twice. Dav ksira. Chachadim chayv, chachadim chayv. They both chayv one. V'aynu damalei. This is what he tells him. You please leave the room. Go outside. Pike tani livra. Frek the Gemara. On this, the Gemara questions, why did Rabbi Yochanan the Rabbi Zakkai? My kosher, don't lie lamalach, davak sir v'tchina. Be'etzem, you did two malachas, and that's why you have two chatas. M'shenkim shar mitzvahs. What's it mean shar mitzvahs? Doesn't mean shar mitzvahs that you did something twice. I'll tell you what that case is. Also, lavoy this kachovim kedarabami. What does Rabami say regarding with the Zara? Da'amer Rabami zibeach. A person shechs v'kiter v'nisech be'elam achad de'nech achas. That's what we saw in Amud Aleph. The Gemara says you can't say this. Loy mituk milei ba'avodas kechavim. The Ketani seif. It says chayim b'shar mitzvahs. That what? Sheb'shar mitzvahs a person does a shogeg l'miskavim chayv. B'shogeg milei miskavim manav shach ba'avodas kechavim hechidami. This is the third time around we're asking the similar question. Either because of basic knesses ubishtachav aloy arilu shemayim. Eli going to tell me a statue the chazan atar v'shagalei manav shach. Either kabelalai belahai as a gach k'meziru. V'iloi kabelalai like lumu. Elo mehavo miira. Rather he did a mehavo year. Zaktumar nichala by damachayf. Ela rava damapata Michael Meimar. Ela, am I going to tell me by mutter? If so, frekting mara mashenkim when it says in the brayso mashenkim b'Shabbos that we're learning at the end. This is around 6 lines to the top of the Amud. We said mashenkim b'Shabbos and the Sefer Brayso. The pata legamrei. Adkan like a boy mini Rav Menachmen. Helam zevazet. Eli chuyu v'chat. Eli chuyu v'tarti. He only had a shaila regarding Shabbos and Melacha. If you chayv one chat, it's not. Pata legamrei like a leman damer. So Zaktamar, my kusha, what's so shver? I'll tell you. The Reisha, the Raisa is Bereisha, I'll tell you, is Baba this Chavim. And V'Seifa is B'Shar Mitzvahs. V'Shagag, what's the case of Shagag B'Loi Miskavim? The Kasavar, he thought it was right. He thought it was Saliva Ubala, and he swallowed it was Chaylev, Mashenke B'Shabbos, the Potter. Sheniskavim like B'Yetz Talosh. He wanted to pick up a Talosh, V'Chatach as a Mechober, and ended up being attached to the ground. Potter, because Rav Nachman HaMashmuel, Da'am HaMesasik, according to Rav Nachman HaMashmuel, we all know, HaMesasik b'chalovim b'arayis chayiv. Why? Shekein he had another ma'aser from it. However, HaMesasik b'Shabbos Potter, because Meleches Machshavas Aser Torah. So why can we say very simple that the ratio of the Sefer is a little different? Mara answers, Rabbi Yochanan Tamei, Delay Mukim, Masnisa, Reish B'Chataimu. You can't come and tell me that the ratios of the Zara, the Seifas b'Chatayma, and the Seifas is a little different. Why? Dam Rabbi Yochanan. Man de metargan li chavis. This is a sugim b'mitzia. I'll leave the Chatana mevlina mani basher lebei mesusa. I'm going to schlep his clothing as a lashon kavod. Rashi brings it down quite extensively. The whole sugya regarding it. But person borrowed a barrel. He put a barrel by his friend's house, and the ma'aser the shaila was he used it litzar koi. If he was machzer or not, right? If there was a miyachin makom and not miyachin makom, it really depends. And the point that we're trying to bring it out, that Rabbi Yochanan himself wanted to explain that Mishnah, Ibn Mitzia, Aliba, the one, Taina, that's what he wanted to go, Aliba the Chat Taina. He wanted to be Mechalik, the Reish and the Seif. He didn't want to say the case of the Reish and the Seif is different in one place, not one place. And that he tells the people, whoever is going to argue is going to tell me that the Reish is one case, Seif is in one case, Aliba the Chat Taina, which is one. Tana saying in one case, I will schlep his clothing. That's why we just see the concept that Rabbi Yochanan agrees such a case. Gufa. Omar Rab Ami. We're on the top of Samach Gimel Amud Aleph. Omar Rab Ami. Zibeach v'kiter v'nisech be'elam achat. He did it one shot. Eino chayev ela achas. He's only chayev one chatas. Omar Bai my time. Rab Ami. What shot in Rab Ami? On cross says in the pasuk. Lo yisavdim. To tell us a person shouldn't do avodah zarah. A ka'asov ason kula avodah achas. The Torah clearly does it all one big avodah. Frak Demar, is this really true? Mi Abai Hachi. Mi Omar Abai Hachi v'Amar Abayo. Shalosh ishtachavois ba'avodas kachavim lama. One is for what? Achas likadarka. The achas shalikadarka. The achas is to be mechalik, to tell us the yichai multiple chatas. My answer is no. Lidvara der Abami kam. However, Leah by himself, he didn't hold this. Gufa. If you look inside the Torah, there's clearly 3 ishtachavois. Why do we need it? Achas likadarka. You're going to tell me. Achas shaloi kedarka, achas will be mechalik. What's the frek tomorrow? Lechadarka, to tell me stam a person over this about Zara. Me'echa yavdu agoyim nafka. They already learned it clearly from the pasuk. Me'echa yavdu agoyim ela nafka, like we saw this pasuk earlier. Ela achas for kedarka v'shaloi kedarka. The scenario where it's kedarka to do such avodah Zara, but they're covered. And he didn't do it in that such a case where it's kedarka shaloi kedarka, v'achas b'chal shaloi kedarka, v'achas lechalik. Amekabloi olav belahai oimeloi eli ato yormegechka. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avu, Amar Rav. Kivan sha'amaloi, once he says eli ato yechayv. Zok the Marlamai. Ilakatala, if what? If it's Tam Lariga, Masnisin, some Mefresh Mishnah. Ella, what? You're going to tell me the carbon? It's Dafka for carbon, then what do you mean? Is this really true for Ekdamara? Vafil Rabbanon is going to hold like this. Vatanya, we have a brace that says what? It's a Tesefton, so it's brought down in the beginning, creases. Eina Chai Velo Davashish B'Maisa has to have a Maisa. For example, what's the case of Maisa? Kigoin Zibuach, Vikiter, Vinisich Vishtachava, Vamre Shlakish, Man Tano Ishtachava. Who's the one who says Ishtachava? Shavikivi, Damar Lai Bina Maisa, Mechlal. You clearly see there Bona Holt Savri Bina Maisa. Then more answers, Kikam Rav, Namila Rakiva Kamar. It's going Avada, not Lashitas. It's going Dafka Lashitas, Rab, Akiva, not Rabbana. Frak tomorrow, Rakiva Pshita, it's Hainu Megadif. Why is it different than Imi Megadif? In such a case, why would you think otherwise? It's not also Megadif, it's also not so much of a Maisa. So tomorrow, Madatim, I can look at Machai, Rakiva Korban, and Megadif, Dechsib Bekares. Have a lacha, the likes of Bekares, aim like, Kamash, one, the Yechai of Chatters, why do they make a Hekish? The Iskushi, Iskush, Dechsib, like it says in the Pasuk, Veishtachavaloi, Veyizbuchaloi, Vayaimru, like it says at the end of the Pasuk, Vayaimru Loi. They bring it down, Vayimru. Eile Lekei Yisrael V'Gaimer. Amar Rav Yechoni Molei Vav Shebelucha. If you look inside the pasuk, it says Vav. The end of the pasuk, Gimel Asher Lucha had an extra Vav to tell us Nischayvu Rishayim Shel Yisrael. Means to say Rishayim Avada means Klai Yisrael. The word Klai Yisrael Chalya would have got destroyed. Zok the market tonight. Acher Ma'imrim, they want to say Molei Vav Shebelucha Nischayvu Rishayim Shel Yisrael would have been Chayiv. Chalya would have got destroyed. As long as you, even very nice, you have the Rebbeinu Shalom with you. But as long as you mentioned other Gachka, Nekem, and Aylam, Shenam, like it says, built the Lashem Lavadi, only in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Matan Laim Asher Lucha, punkt. Shahayu Luz Harbed, they desired many Gachkas, but Avada, you do have to remember that they were Makar the Kadosh Baruch Hu. For that reason, they didn't get destroyed. I'm a gafef, I'm an ashik, someone embraces, kisses, and he sweeps up, and Marbi sprinkles water to clean up the room, for this Zara. Ki asa, Rav Dimi, Amr Rabbi Lazar. Al Kulam. On all these, you get what? Like you get Malkus Chutz Ma'noide B'Shmoi, someone who gives a ned in the name of the name, V'hamekayim, someone who curses, someone who's Nishba, sorry B'Shmoi. Frak Demara, Maishna, Anoide B'Shmoi, V'hamekayim B'Shmoi. What's the difference? Dafka noida b'shmai mekayim b'shmai that you don't get malchus. The loy lucky. You're going to tell me why? Mishum david lav sheim b'maisa because it's a lav that doesn't have a maisa. Hani nami lav shebechlolasu. And so we're going to see in a moment that it's a lav that we're learning out from a klal. Vein loikin a lav shebechlolas. The tani minayin loichel mina behema koidem shetates a nafsha shu b'loisase. How do you know? Someone who eats from an animal before his soul leaves. He has a license to say Tamalim, we're playing other words. You don't eat it, al adam, while there's still dam. Dava acher, adam, basar, v'adayim b'mizrak, it's still in the cleave, etc. If someone gets executed, we don't do the suda, you don't eat it, al adam. In Rekiva Ayim, Sanhedrin, Shargus, and Nefesh. Shein time and klum, they don't eat, they fast all day, we saw this early, kalei sayim. Adam. And Rabbi Yechon has early been saying, you shouldn't eat al adam because he's going to end up getting killed. He shouldn't end up eat meats, etc. What do we see from here? All these is, and lav shebeklalis. So what over here? Why is it different? Frak Demara, that what? Mashta hanach the loylaki david lasha b'klalis. Haninami. Also over here regarding another hanach nami haninami lav shem b'maisaninu. Why is it different? The Maisa over here is no Maisa. More answers. Who could have Yehuda? Dama lav shem b'maisa. Like in all of the Tanya, like Yehuda learns. Like says Siru mimenad biker. That Ba Kosov that says L'Siman Abayka Ba Kosov Litan Asecha. License to tell us that what when Samachim Alabeis Lai Mashain like in all of different Yehuda. However, Yaakov Raim Lai Menashem Uzel Mishum David Lav Shem B'Maisa V'Chalav Shem B'Maisa like in all of Mechlal. What are we bringing out? The Yehuda Savar like in all of and you do get Malchus. Okay, we're by the two dots on the top of Samach Gimel on the base. Hanoider Bishmoi V'Amekayim Bishmoi Harei Zeh B'Loisasei. Zoktamor, how do you know this? Another B'Shmoi V'Amekayim B'Shmoi we know it. Zoktamar, the tiny we have a Bryce that says V'Shem Elehim Acherim. You shouldn't mention all the Getches like Skiru Shalim Adam L'Chavei. Shmali B'Tzai V'Vaydis Kachavim Plainis. Go stand next to this church over there. I want to meet you there. Leishama Picha the what? Shelayadur B'Shmoi V'Leikaim B'Shmoi V'Leigram Acherim Sheyidim B'Shmoi. You shouldn't cause other people to be meneder on a getch. V'Leikaim B'Shmoi D'Ba'achel Leishma Picha Azara what? Lemesis L'Madiach. Fraktimara Mesis. Behedikse. We all know this regarding someone who instigates. It says, V'chayismal, Yishmu v'yiru, and it says at the end of the pasuk, Lasses kadavar zeh, ha'rabek hazeh b'karecha, we destroy him. Ella hazara, it's coming to tell us, hazara what? Lemediach. Zok the Gemara v'layigram lachem shiyidush shmoi v'shikayim shmoi mesayilei lad v'od shmol dam avod shmol osel adam shiyasa shutta some of this chavi. You're not allowed to become a shutta with a guy. Why? Shenis chayil shvua. V'nish by this chavim shalai, he's going to end up swearing with this about this zara. V'atayir amra layishama al picha. Ki also ula one time when we're going to go through scenarios where a person that he uses the names of Avodah Zarah. We said earlier you're not allowed to use those names. So bas bekal nevai, he slept in a place called Kavanai. Amalei Rava ve'echa bas mar. Where did he sleep? Where were you the other night? He says, what do you mean? I was bekal nevai. Amalei bekal nevai. Amalei v'ksiv Hashem elahem achem leisiskiru. How you mentioning this name of this getchka, this Avodah Zarah? As long as it says in the Torah somewhere, it's fine. Where do we know this? So he says, the ksiv, it says in the pasuk, in Yeshaya, Kara Bel. We're talking about the what? The Kara, the squats, the Bel, which is, we're going to see it's Avodah Zarah. And Karas Nevai, and the splashes, the what? The Nevai. Ve like Siva loy. Ve like Siva, and if it wasn't saying loy. Now we're going to see this regarding a zav. The halacha is it has to have enough the chiluk between a zav g'dayla or not. If there's time between every zav that is enough to go to the river and and wet himself and dry it, and if it happens very long, a long stream of zav, it's still considered a separate ziva as long as there's that time. She kamidgyun. This is the kasha. We're bringing kamidgyun l'shila, which is the name of the zar. She in tvilas. Vishnei sibugin. As long as two tvilas and two dryings, harei zev gomer. So the kasha, as you clearly see, is also using Avodah Zarah. Amar Ravina, God. Now michtach sid. The chsev, it says archim. They set like God shulchan. They set the table for the God. Amar Rav Nachman. Call litzanusa to make litzanas asir chutzman litzanusa. There was cham the sharet. Chsev, like we just saw in the pasuk. Kareya Baal, he squats karas navai, and the navai splashes. And it says karsu karu yachtov. Together they squatted and they splashed. They weren't able to deliver the mass of the burden. Uchsev says in the pasuk, Dibru lagalis. It says you should speak to the eglois base oven. This is talking about in the base Eli, Yeravim Yavat had a bunch of other zars over there, and Yaguru Shachin Sharman, the people that lived there were afraid of Sharman. Ki what? Ki Avel Olav Imai, the nation mourned over them. Uchamara, which means the priest. Olav Yagilu al Kvaidai. Ki Galam Imeno, that what? The Kamara Olav Yagilu. The priests were rejoicing al Kvaidai. We're learning it as a Kvaidai, Ki Galam Imeno, because their glory was departed. Al Tikri Kvaidai. We're not going to learn a glory. El Kvaidai and Rashi's Masber means the Kvaidai of what? Of their weight of all their tzaya that we're making fun of them. So we see that we can make fun of others. Says in the pasuk, and now they even did more averes for Yasulam Masechet Mikasum. They made these figures of others from silver. They were shapes of idols. What's it mean? The shapes of idols. He made himself a getchka, and he would put it in his pocket. Whenever you remember it, might see him and take it out of his pocket. He would hug it in an ashka. A person is shechs, Adam. Slaughters a person at Golim Mishakun. They're going to kiss that Golim of Avodah Zarah. What did they do? They were very smart. They realized the Balamama that served, like in India, even today, they serve cows, right? And they look at this chashuv. Now what? Umarivin esa golim. They would starve these calves. The isin musatzavim. They would make these images of these rich people. Umamida mitad. I was saying they would put in their bins, in the buckets where they ate like that. They would see it. And then they would take them outside. And then what do the animals do? By naturally, they would run to these rich people. Kivin sharatz and ratzu acharein and mashamshin bahan. And they would tell them, no, we want to get fat. So they would tell them, they would trick these rich people. They said, the Gachkas want you, these cows. You should go shecht yourself to the Avodah Zarah. Some want to say that the taka didn't shecht it, but if in order to get saved, you should give all the mammon. Some want to say that if the taka were over the Avodah Zarah, they would got killed for the Avodah Zarah. The halacha was that they were yerish everything. So that's why they got everything. According to this mahalach, it's not the people that slaughter kiss calves. Rather, the calves kiss the person. And the chap was when they kissed the person, they were able to shecht him. So, Umam shechted is the son for Avodah Zarah, Yavav Yishak Lai should come and kiss him. Now we're going to talk about all different types of avodah zaras they did. Anshe says in the pasuk as follows. The Anshe Bavel Asu Sukkos Benois. What is Sukkos Benois? My name is Tana Goyles Tahen. The Anshe, the continue the pasuk. The Anshe Kus. What did they do? Asu is Nargul. What's a Nargul? My name is Tana Gol. The Anshe, and then the last at the end of the pasuk is the Anshe Hamas. What did they do? Asu is Hashima. My name is a Barcha Karcha, a bald buck, which is a goat. And then the next pasuk says, who did the Avim do? What did they do? Asu is Nivchas. What's Nivchas? A dog. V'es Tartig, a donkey. My name Kelev Chamar. V'asefarvim Sarvim is Benayim. There's been Isaiah. Ba'esh la der melech v'ana melech hele elahei. These are the getchkas of the what? Sifar Yavim umaynu. What is it? The pair, the mule, basus, and the horse. Ad melech. Why is it called the mule? The other le lemari b'tiina. Arn is its mari, its owner, by schlepping for him. V'ana melech the other lemari b'karva, and answers its master during the battle. And Avchizkiya Melch Yehuda Bikashav Laslakain, Yosef was going to kill himself at the avodah zara. Rather, his mother Ella Shesachsechai Imai Salamandra, and Rashi's mother Salamandra is very interesting. What is Salamandra? Rashi says Salamandra was a thing. It was a little chaya katana that came out of an oven that was on for 7 years, and you would put his little things on the guf, and the fire was not shalit on such a person. The only reason why they did it, is this really true? They only did it because they didn't want to, but they only did it because in order to, like that, they could do a rayas. Kizachar says in the pasuk, Kizachar b'neihem is b'chaisa, that the mizbeach, the altars are what? Like remember their children, the goyim Avraham Elazar Adam, sheyesh la'agaguin abanai. Someone who's like what? They missed their avodah zara so much. So don't tell me they only did it for arayas. So my answer is no, you're right. After they already were attached to the avodah zara, it's much different. Tash mavin asati bigrechem. They would put their pigrechem, their carcasses, al pigregulechem. They were starving, they were bloated. It's a very fascinating ma'isa how bad avodah zara was. Pam achas. Matzah, Tina, Tapuchi was bloated, Mutta Ba'ashbi, sitting in the Ashba. Amalam, Eiz Mishpachata. Where are you from? Amalam, Mishpacha, Plainis, I'm from such and such family. Amalai, Klum, Nishtaim, Eiz Mishpacha. Anybody left? Amalai, laugh. Nobody except me, Chutz Mimeni. Amalai, Imanim, Alam, Necha, Davash, Atachai, Boy. Atalamit. If you want to survive and you're going to learn it, well, are you willing to? He says, sure. Amalai, hen, no problem. Amalai, Amar, B'chal Yaim, say every single day, Shema Yisrael, Hashem, Alakeinu, Hashem, Echad. You know what he says? Amalai, Hus. Shah, stay quiet. I don't want to hear this. Well, on the top of Samach Dalet Amval, Shaloi la'ask b'shem Hashem. Why Shaloi limdu avi imay? Miyad, what did this kid do? Look how brainwashed he was. You have to really know how if he himself, he's a kid, he's brainwashed. It's very hard to understand that he was mamash over the zara. Why? Miyad, hoitzi, Rasi takes out his getchka, mecheka, mechabka, and ashki, kiss it, chenifka, crazy, till he mamash exploded over it. V'nafli, Rasi dies, so the getchka falls on the ground. La'aretz, v'nafli, la'la, l'kaim, shenemar, v'nesati, pigrechem. You're going to put this dead body, al pigri gulechem, mamash, on the avodah zara. So again, what do we see from there? That they loved avodah zara. More answers. Basar daviku bei after they were attached. Tashma veizaku bekol gadol Hashem alekeyem. So my Omer Yehuda v'yitem Rabbi Yonasan Bayu. This is what we're talking about. We're going to see. We're going to discuss how they want to destroy the avodah zara. So powerful. The design of avodah zara. Even today, we all know we don't have so much of a taiva of avodah zara in 2025. But Nashim is much more, and we're going to see this from this Gemara. Baya, I need the Achvil Beisa that this avodah zara destroy the Beis Mikdash Rishon. V'kaya lehechel and burn down the hechel. V'katlinu letzadikin and it killed us. V'aglinu lisram marayu v'dainim mirakid beinon. It's still with us. Klum yavtilon. Why did you give us this taiva? Ela lekabule be'agar on the top of Samach Dalet Amud Aleph. In order for what? In order to get schar. La yu beinon v'la yigre beinon. It's like what we say. La uksech v'la dushech. I rather not get the nisayin for the schar. I don't want anything, so I don't get punished. So again, what do we see from there? That it's such a taiva for what? For the Yetzirah. That's such a taiva. My answer is again, it's such a taiva for what? For avodah zara. My answer is basa davikupei. Okay, now we're going to continue when the first wide line is Samach Dalet. We're going to continue what really happened that they were davening to get rid of it. So Yatzvu Tlasi Yaimi, they're sitting and davening to get rid of it. Yasvu Tlasi Yaimi. For 3 days, B'tanisa Bo Rachami, Lamaisa was Rachman, is Nafkal Episkim Rakia. A note falls out from Shemayim Davik Sibbe. One word, Emes. It just says emes. Amr Chanina Shmami, no, what do you see? That the stamp of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Chaysama Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emes. And Nafak, what comes out suddenly? Nafak Kikiyayr Denura, a fiery line comes out, base Kachak Adashim. Amalu Nabal Yisrael, this is what? You know what you're looking at? Hainu Yitzhar Davai Dezar, you're looking at the Yitzhar of Dezara. The Bahadi de Katafsile. Ishtam Binasim, while they grabbed it, a hair fell off this lion. Va'azukali, they made a roar. Va'azukali, how big? Ba'arba mea parsi, 400 parsais. It's probably a few million amas. It's quite extensive. Amri Hechin, what should we do? Dilma Mishmaim Rachmile, Lamaiser, Baina Shalaylam created this barrier, this line, this about the Zara for us. Amalei Navi, Shadu, you know what you should do in order this roaring? Shadu bedu the Avra, put it in a pot that's full of lead, and you're going to see why. V'chisuyi ba'avra, and cover with the lead. Cover. Why? The shadya lead absorbs, it's very good to absorb loud noises, and he's growling. The shadya called it. Like it says, V'yoymer zois harasha, we're talking about the Yitzhahara. V'yashach aiso, techa efa, yashach is efena. What do you see? Aiferes, they put in the lead up here. Amri hoyel veis ratzenu, niboy rachme, a yitzur daveir. Now the Rebbeinu Shalom is listening to us. He's getting rid of what? This, a taiva for avodah zarah. Maybe we should get rid of the taiva of nashim. What happened? Let's see what happened. Boy rachme, l'maisa they daven, and imser biyadayu, the Yitzhahara of nashim went into their hands, and chavshu, so they tied it up, klasi yaimin. What happened was someone sick, they wanted to give him an egg that's 1 day old. However, like ashkechun, the reason why they couldn't find it, because even the chickens, even the animals had no taiva to mate, and if there wasn't mating, there was no procreation, you couldn't continue. So they realized it's not going to work. Maybe we should do like half the person to his wife. So what did they do? They blinded the Yitzhahara of Nashim. Even today we all know that a person does not have a taiva for what? For siblings, parents, etc. Whoever he has a taiva for nida and Nashim, regular Nashim. Amar Yehuda Merav, Maisra ben Nachris, Achas. No. Amar Yehuda Merav, Maisra ben Nachris, Achras, Shaisa Chayle b'Yaiser. She was very, very sick. She was on her deathbed. Amra. If this woman, she's talking about herself, gets what? Survives. So she went and served every single gachka. She gets to this. She asked the priest, how do you know the servant, the chaver that do this avodah zarah, right? They all had these shamashim, these avodah zarah. She asked him, what do you do? How do you serve this? They start telling her, you know what you need to do? You have to eat. Eichlin tarad and beets with shayts and sheikha in order to what? To have like diarrhea, to have, in order that it can make mamash be a lot of tzaya. Treason for now. I don't want to do such thing. I'd rather be on my deathbed than do such a thing. However, Klai, so we know it says that it's smothered, we're attached about the Baal Pa'ar. This is not talking about us, that they're attached to Baal Pa'ar. Kitzamid Pasil, like a cover of a Kli. The Atem, Klai, so Advekam Hashem Lakechin, Kishmei, like Tamaris, Adveka Zubasu. Mas Nisan Tan, I'm smothered in the Baal Pa'ar, Kitzamid like a bracelet. That what? You could shake it. It's very loose. Aide Isha, the Atem Advekam Hashem Lakechin, Klai, so is what? Devukim Mamish. Toner Abanan, fascinating Maisa. So he hired out his donkey to a nachris achas. Kivin shegil par gets into the par. Amalei hantin ashikanis for 8. So the Maisa, she says, I want to go in to serve my getchka, so stay over here. She comes out. Amalei afat yamtini, you should wait for me. Achikanis for 8. The Maisa Amalei v'la Yehuda. What do you mean? You're a yid. How could you go serve over the zara? Amalei ma'ich b'slei. Mind your own business. Nichnas par b'fanav ekinich b'chaytmai. He thought he's going to do a chap. So he went and wiped himself for this avodah zarah. He thought, wow, how bad can I do it? They were so happy. You mamish did the best of the best, the Spitz of the Spitz of avodah zarah, what they want. Again, you have to know that Baal Par, the best of avodah zarah, is afkeris. I think that's the concept. They talk about it. Why do we have a Baal Par? It's showing you as much as possible you can be mafker yourself. Okay. That's the way to do it. Afagav, even though you're trying to shtach avodah zarah, but that is the way to serve it. Afagav the mechavan lebizoi, same thing with the markulis. Says Eric Evan, you throw the stones on markulis, ziyavadasai, even though you're trying to stone it to make fun of it. Afagav the mechavan lemirgamimi. Rav Menashe abekazal Beit Tursa. He goes in this place, Beit Tursa. It's the name of a place. And Amar Loi avodah zarah the kai hachas. So right over here is a big avodah zarah. So what did he do? He took Adama Zakrashi, Shakal, Pisa, and Shadmi, he throws it. Amala Makulasi. This is a Makulis, you can't do that. Amala, what do you mean? It says Hazarik Evan Lamakulis. I didn't throw a rock, I threw the Adama, Tanan. So also Shalvei Midrash, he went to the shul to ask, Amala, Hazarin Evan Makulis Tanan. Afagav, even though what? The Mechaber the Migma, you're trying to stone it. So it doesn't make a difference. Yulamaisa throwing Adama is also a problem. Amalu, Ezel Ishkalei. Should I go remove it? Amalei, no, don't remove it. Why? Because echad a night love echad a nice nechayev kol chadav v'chadav revachal v'chaver toshavik. It's like today, if you pull up the Gadol's kever and it's full of rocks, right? There's a limited space, but you're removing one of them. You're going to give them place for someone else to come in. Zok the heilige Mishnah. Hanoisin. We're going to continue all these mishnayos referring to the halachas of a person's chayev skila. Hanoisin mizaroi. A person Rachman Tzan gives his children l'mailach, and we're going to see it on a base. It's not sreifa. Someone asked me, is it sreifa? Mamish, no. Kapshutai, we see it, Rashi brings it down, that you don't burn your own children. You pass them through a fire. You have to give it to the mailach, and you have to go through the fire. You give it to the mailach, but you don't put it through the fire. The halach is, it's a little repetitive. You got to give it to this mailach, the person who's standing between these two. We're going to see it on Amid Beis, between these two columns, v'yaver beish, and go through fire. Zok the Gemara. Now what? Very clearly, tell me skila. But Tani Abed Zar. We already learned this extensively in Daf Nun Gimel, the Mishnah over there. What is Abed Zar? Tani Mailach. And Sunny over here, we're mentioning Mailach. It sounds like that what? What's the chiluk? Amar of Oven, Tanan Command Amar, Mailach Lav Abed Zaru. In our Mishnah, when we're saying Mailach, it's something else. It's not considered Abed Zar. The Tanya Echel Mailach. The Echel Shar Abed Zar Chayev. The Chachat Tanakama holds whether you're doing it for the Mailach or a different Abed Zar. For example, your Maver Zara, you thought it was the Mailach. It's also Chayev. Rabbi Lazar Hashem and Aimel, the Mailach Chayev. The only way to do the Avodah Zarah by the Mailach is doing it. However, Shaloi the Mailach Potter. Why? The Dafka, the Mailach is the way to do the Avodah Zarah. Ama Abayo, Rabbi Lazar Hashem and Chanina ben Atayginais, Amru Dav Echad. Then what? Rabbi Lazar Hashem and Had Amr, like we just said, the Dafka had to go through the Mailach. Had Amr. And Chanina ben Atayginas, the Tanya, Chanina ben Atayginas, Aimir, Bnei Matov Satayr Lashon Mailach. Why does the Lashon Mailach, Lashon of ruler, to tell us, Kol Shem Lichu Aleim? Even if you take a kleine zach and you want to say melucha, filu tzrar, even a pebble of a filu kisim. Rav Amar Mailach is even ara, even if it's temporary, ikah ben ayu, that what? And that's an afgemina between loy amru davar echad, to tell us a what? A Mailach in a temporary, for example, a tzrar kisim, it's only fisha that Rabbi Elazar Hashem is going to say you only chayv in one case, dafka Mailach kavua. We're on the top of Samach Da'od on the base. Amr Avyana, you know what it's saying? When it's to say, Achiyim Sar L'Mailach. Ein Achayiv, Amshim Sureno. It doesn't mean to Mamish. It means to L'Masharsa V'Dazara. It's like when they had the Getchkas, they had the Masharsa over there. Shenamo Mizar Achol, Leisitin L'Haver L'Mailach. Tananam Achi Yachol Hever V'Loi Masi Achayiv. What if a person does it on his own and not through the Masharsa V'Dazara? You should be Chayiv. Tamalayim Leisitin. Masa L'Mailach V'Loi Hever. L'Maisi didn't put it through. Yachi Achayiv. Tamalayim L'Haver. Masa v'hever shaloi l'melech, and you didn't go through the melech yachal chayev again to melayim l'melech. Masa v'hever l'melech, and you didn't do it through the fire. Loi be'esh yachal chayev nemakan l'haver v'nemer la'alon. We're going to see another pasuk. It says lo yimatze v'cham ma'aver b'nai yibita be'esh. Ma la'alon, just like over there, it's be'esh. Afkan is be'esh. Ma'kan melech, af la'alon melech. Amar Rav Achaber the Rava hever called zarai. Very interesting halacha. If a person took all his children, the halacha is Yepater Shenamar Mizaracha Veloikal Zaracha. Taisa asks a very simple question. L'chayra, the first one you should be chayiv. My answer, Taisa says, V'yishleimer kegain she'ein lai ela ben echad. Either it's you only have one child, so it's your whole children. Oy shavir v'asachis, you put everyone together. Bayir Rav Ashi Hevira Sumamau. The guy's blind. Or Yashimau, he's sleeping. Ben b'noyu ben bitamau is einakluch. Mau. Tishmi Achada. At least we can pull out one of them. The Tanya says in the pasuk, "He mizarai nosel l'maylich." From his children gave to the water the maylich. Not the l'maylich. If you shenamar, it says already l'mayich sabcha. Ma'aver b'nai bitay. Be'esh ein l'b'nai bitay. How do you know that what? Ben b'nai ben bitay is ein a kloch minay tam l'maymar besitay mizarai. Tana pasuk v'chizai. Frek the Gemara. You started off with what? With the pasuk chizai v'salek besitay mizarai. Our answer is Roshachinu, Zara, Ein Leil Zara Kosher. How do you know if you put in, for example, Zara Apostle, and Nasan and Mamzami 9, Tamalayma, Besita Mizara, the extra apostle is coming to tell us, even if you're Zara or Apostle, you're still Chayiv. Amr Yehuda in a Chayiv at Shivren and Derchavar. So what's the case? Hey Chidami, how do you do Taklis Melech? Amr Abaya, Shraga delivni b'mitzay nura. You had these columns of bricks, and you had the scent, you had a fire. Mahai gisa v'nur mahai gisa. You had the fire on one side, fire on the other, and you went right through it. Rava Amar, Kimasharvasa, the Puria, like the what? They jumped like Purim. There was happy times. Purim's coming. All the kindlach would jump over fires. They leaped over the fire. Tani kavas the Rava. Ein echayv achir v'enur derech havara. Havira beregel. However, if you went through your foot, you didn't jump over it. Potter. It has to be tafka your children. What's the case? However, if it's what? If it's your family, it's your krivim, and it's not your yaitzi richa, your potter, aviv, ima, achav, achaisi, your potter. Now, what is the halacha we're going to see? You yourself went through the fire, but it wasn't your children. Hever atzmai. So that's a machlekes. Tanakama says potter, Lezer Hashem achayv. Echel the Meilech, Echel Shavadis are Chayiv. Another thing we see Rabbi Lezer Hashem and Aimer the Meilech Chayiv, Shemelech is potter. Amrula, my time with the Belazar Shimon. What shot did he's going to say that what the Atzmai your Osachayv? Amakros says Leimatze Becha. Says in the Torah very clearly, Matze Becha Mavrib Naibita. What's the Becha coming to tell us? Ba'atzmacha. Frak the Mara Banon is not Darish Becha. Like Darish Becha. But Tanan, when a person he's in a ship with his father on a boat, and both of the wallets fell off. Which one do you could pick up first? We pick up his first. For it says Ephes for not for you Evian Shalai Kedemes L'Shel Kaladam. Again, so what do you see clearly? Tanakama also learns Becha. Our answer is no, they're not learning from the Becha, rather Hasam, they're learning it from what? May Ephes, you shouldn't become extinct, you shouldn't become poor, in that what? You're always first. You always need to protect yourself first. Achas is for what? Like a darka, to tell us you do it like the derech, achas like a darka, the achas l'moilech. If you look inside Rashi brings it down. 3 psukim. One is Vayikra Chaf Hey. One is Vayikra Chaf Gimel. One is Vayikra Chaf Hey. And the last one is in Bamidbar Tez Vav Lamed Aleph. Like it says clearly in the pasuk, Vaniyatin is panay be'ishahu. V'chrasi oisim v'kerb amet. It's one pasuk. Another pasuk says V'samtini is panay be'ishahu. And then the third pasuk is that says Shlach lo anoshin ki diba Hashem bezev. It's mitzvah hafer. Hikaris menefesh. Rashi brings down all 3 psukim. So why do you need it? So in that we're saying achas and darka. One shall like a darka. One's l'moilech. Frektamar l'man da'amar moilech havay dezari karis b'moilech lomeli. My answer is in the scenario l'mavri b'nai shall like a darka. Frektamar l'man da'amar megadif is havay dezari then karis b'megadif lomeli. My answer is the Chetatanya says in the pasuk Hikaris Tikaris to tell us Hikaris ba'olam hazeh. And you should what? Tikaris l'olam haba. Not just in this world, you're going to get destroyed. Also in olam haba. Divri Rabbi Kiva. Amalei b'shma v'lek v'nama. It says v'nichasra. V'chishleisha l'amim yesh. There's only 2 worlds. There's olam hazeh and olam haba. Ele v'nichasra is ba'olam hazeh. And the Tikaris l'olam haba. And Tikaris enechanami dibra Torah kelashon b'nei adam. Zok the Heilig a Mishnah Bal Oiv. What is a Oiv? It's a pitay. Pitaim is a medaber meshachya, very interesting. He's able to take the mace, the spirits of the mace, and put it in his armpits. V'yedaini, what is a yedaini? It's a medaber bepif, and he's able to take a certain type of animal. It's called a yadua, and you put the bone in your mouth, and the bone talks on its own. Harei ilu b'skila, the halach is the ol b'skila, v'anishal b'ham. And someone asks, he wants to ask these Ivy Yedainis what's going on to do X, Y, Z. He's Iver Bahazar. Regarding our Mishnah, clearly brings down both. However, regarding Krisis, where it goes through all the stuff, the Yechayev on Shkaga Chatas, and there's 36 of them, it doesn't mention Yedaini. So we have 2 roots. Since Ivy Yedaini is together, once we mention Iv, there's no reason to mention Yedaini. You know why you don't say Yedaini? Yedaini the fish ain't but Maisa. Since there's no Maisa, Yechayev. And we're going to see why the armpits regarding Pitam is a Maisa. But according to Rabbi Yechon Mashno about Oiv Dinaka. Why are you saying Oiv and not Yedaini? Maybe say Yedaini, not Oiv. My answer is Mishum the Pasuk Beikra. Like if you always look inside the Pasuk, it's always first. Always says Oiv, then Yedaini, therefore I mentioned that. Regarding Misa, it clearly is Chaluk, therefore there's 2 Chatas. Rabbi Yechon is going to say Chalukah dalav, Shmei Chalukah. However, the Misa is not considered a Chalukah. La Shmei Chalukah. Correct the Mara, Rabbi Yechon, my time alarm a Karish Lakish. Why doesn't it say Lakish Lakish? I'm going to tell you, Masnis in the creases, Rabbi Kivi. Dama Levi in the Maisa. Correct the Mara. Very Shlakish, Nihida, Rabbi Kiva Maisa. Oh, so tomorrow, Yechon might tell me like Gosha. I'm going to sneeze in the crease of Rekivi. Dam alay being Maisa. Very Shlakish is going to say, Need the light by Rekiva Maisa Rabba, the Maisa by Maisa Zuta boy. And Megadif has Kilu Frektumar that what? You need somewhat of a small Maisa. Frektumar Megadif, my Maisa Iko. What is the Maisa by Megadif? And over there we know Yechayev. Mar says no. Akima Svasa, the Maisa, moving your lips by Megadif is considered to have a Maisa. However, Ba'al Oiv, what's the Oiv? Regarding the Oiv, my Maisa Iko. Hakosha's Raisa, the armpits, the what? Is Ave Maisa. Frektumar, but Filer Abanon, the armpits consider a Maisa, just what? Clapping the arms like that in order for call to come out. Vatani Nechav Lo Davashesh Maisa, Kigoin, what? Zibuach, Kita Venisach Lishtachava. Vamer Shlakish, Mantana Shtachava, Rakivi, Damalay Vina Maisa. And Rabbi Yechon wants to say, I feel Tim Rabbanan, Kvivas Kamasal Rabbanan, have a Maisa. Then what? What do you see from here? Let's say, for example, Shtachava. L'Rabbanan have a Maisa, but Akash, Zura Isa of the Bal Oiv have a Maisa. So again, you clearly see what's going on. The more answers, Kikamar Shlakish, Nam L'Rekiva, L'Rabbanan like. Fraktumari Yachid should say Yatsa Migadif Ubal Life. Why only Migadif? It should also say Bal Life Mivaylate. Elama'ula, what are we talking about? Mekater L'Shay. Amalei Rav Mekat L'Shay. Is this really true? It's not considered as Chavim. Alam Rav Mekat L'Chaver. He's schlepping them. Amalei Abai Mekat L'Chaver Chayv Chaveru. It's regular in the pasuk where it says Chayv Chaveru. Says yes in. Vataymer Amr Taka Chayver Zebeskila. Toner Rabbanan Chayver Chaver is what? Echad Chaver Gadol ve'Echad Chaver Katan. That feeling of Chashim Akravim. What's it mean? Echad Chaver Gadol. Rashi's Masber, even the bigger behemoths, and the Katan is the smaller behemoths. Even the Chashim Akravim, you're able to schlep them together. You basically take a bee and you take a scorpion to mate, to be with each other, be busy. The reason why you're doing it is not to bother anybody else. It's still usher. What's the difference? Let's be real. Why is Shtachava considered a Maisa? But moving your lips by that what? You tell me by Megadiv is not a Maisa? Amarava, no. The reason why Megadiv is not a Maisa, Shani Megadiv. Hayol v'yeshnu b'leiv. Since Lamaisa, he has it's all totally real and delayed. That's where the Ikachiv comes from, is by the leiv. One Samachayim a base. Masi Reb Zera, we know regarding the Chatas and brought down in the Teres Kahanim, it says Yatsu Eidim Zoimim, that you don't have a Chatas by Shaygig. Why shame by Maisa? Frektumar v'amai, halesnu b'leiv. Lamaisa, we all know Eidim Zoimim don't have anything b'leiv, right? It's totally in the words. Amarav Shani Eidim Zoimim hayol v'yeshnu b'kol. Lamaisa has a kol. Ikr chiyuvan l'maisa is mishmias kol, and kol doesn't have a mashas. However, Megadif is Talab Elay. Frektumar v'kol Rabbi Yechon Lav Maisu v'ayetmar. We all know Chasama regarding the halacha muzzling b'kol. He forced it by just talking to very loudly, or v'eniga regarding kalayim is b'kol. Rabbi Yechon Amachai v'shlokish amapater, and Rabbi Yechon says Chai Amachai v'kimas piv have a ma'aser v'shlokish amapater kiv piv lo have a ma'aser. Elam Merava Shani Edim Zaymim Hayil v'yeshna b'riyah, which means to say it's all told in the riyah. The Rishonim, they bring them from the guys of here. It doesn't make sense for riyah. If it's Edim Zaymim, there's no riyah. Rather, it's be'eyah. Eyah just saying yes to second aid, and he doesn't really need to move his lips. Taner Rabban. Baal Oiv Zamadab ben Aprakim talks between his joints and between his siliyada, between his armpits. What is he daini? Zamaniach etzim yadua bepif. He brings in this bone, this from this animal called yadua. V'umadaber me'elav, and it talks on his own. Frek Demara Meisvei, it says in the pasuk v'haya ka'oif me'eretz kalecha, and it's coming from the ground, not going through your joints. My lav demishtoi ki orche. The reason why it's very faint, why it's very light, because it's what in the ground. Loi the salik, it comes up. V'yosef ben Parakim umishtoi, and it speaks from there. Tashma. That Taimar Ishal Shol regarding this is talking about a pasuk Shmuel. When it came out, what he says Elikim Reisi. He says I saw Shmuel's spirit look like Elikim. Oilam and arts. My love, the Mishtay Korcha was natural. Again, lied the Yasib and Prakim Mishtay. He went through into the joints, and that's when Shmuel Kilu's spirit spoke. Taner Rabbanan Bal Oif. What is it? Oif Echla Malab B'Schur. He brings the spirits onto his aver. The Echla the Nishal B'Gagailis, where speaks to a skull on the ground. Ma Bein Zelazeh. What's the difference between a golgailis and schur? Malab is schurai, when you put it on the aver, ain't other kadarka, it doesn't come out through its head, the spirit, rather through its feet. They ain't other b'shabbos. Nishal b'golgailis, oila kadarka, v'oila b'shabbos. However, when you speak the skull, it does come up through its head and not through Shabbos. The Gemara is going to question what comes up. L'chayr, the skull's on the ground. Frek demara haila lehecha solik hakamei nachat, and the skull is sitting right there. Kamei manach alaima oina kadarka, it answers kaderech v'oina b'shabbos. V'av sheilazu shal turnus rufus arashis or rekiva. Amalei ma yoim yomayim. What's the difference between yom and why is this Shabbos special? Amalei ma gever meguvrim. Who are you? Why are you Turnus Rufus? Why are you the ruler? Amalei the Maritzavi. What do you want from me? The Melech Kisar made me the ruler. So he says Shabbos Nari the Maritzavi. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted this to be. Amalei hachi kaminach. This is what my shayla. Me yema the inna Shabbos. How do you know today is Shabbos? Maybe today's Tuesday. Amalei nahar sevitin yechiach. Nahar sevitin Rashi's masbro was a nahar full of avonim and it moved. And on Shabbos it was quiet. Bal oiv yechiach. That what, like we said, that it doesn't come on Shabbos and Kivish al Yechiach. Why shein Maila Ashim and Shabbos smoke doesn't come out? Amalei answers him back. Bizaitoi, you vayish me. Bishaitoi ve kill kaltoi and you curse me. Okay. Shoyel oiv hainu v'dar shel mesim. Frek tomorrow oiv l'chayra is no different than dar shel mesim. Dar shel mesim. The tiny v'dar shel mesim is a marav atzmai. Someone who stars himself a halach v'lam basic vars. He goes to the basic vars. Kadesh tish alav ruach toma. Ukshay rekiva magila mikozaya. Beichi would cry and he say marav atzmai kadesh alav kidei shetish alav ruach toma shar alav ruach toma. Ha marav atzmai. Someone who stars himself kadesh tish alav ruach tayra. Someone who's very careful for his chatoim. Alachas kama kama v'ma'as. So what can we do? Sheven eseinu garmal lanu shenam like a says kim even esechem because of averos. Hayim avdilim ben echel ben lekech. And that's why we're separate between us and the Rebbeinu Shalom. Amar Ravi Bait Tzaddik. If the Tzaddikim really wanted, Bar Alma, they could create their own world. Shenam like it says, Kevin Seichem, just because of the Averis, I'm dealing. But if not for the Averis, we could create our own world. V'Gaimi Rava Bara Gavra. He talked with the Sefer Yitziras. He was able to create a person. So Shad come in there zero. Have a Kaimish by day. The Maisi was talking to him, but he couldn't respond because when you build a Yitzira, when you build this Ruach, it doesn't have the Kayach of Nefesh to talk. That's how we're able to speak the Nefesh. He couldn't respond. Amalei Man Chavrayati from my friend who made you. Hadal Afrek, go back to your dust. You're not a real person. Every Shabbos for ask Sefer Yetzira, umivrle iglo, to make this beautiful, nice egel tilsa. Some want to say it means the third of its growth. It tastes the best. Some want to say shlishi lebetin, its third baby, va'achule, and they would eat it. Taner Rabbanan ma'aynin. Reb Shimon Aimer, what is a person who's ma'aynin? Is amav shiva minei zachar shechva zera la'ayin. V'chaim Aimer is ha'eiches zanayim, which we call illusion. And Kiva Aimer is ha'mechashiv eating v'shois, and based on the times, and he says, no, now is not a good time. And he says, Hayom Yafalotzis, Lamachar is a good time, Yafalikach, Limud Er Shvi is Chitin Yafis, or Ikar kidneys, the people that plug out the kidneys, Miyais rice. Tana Rabbanan, what's a menachas? I'm a pita naflim piv. Ay, bread fell out, it's a bad sign. Or makla naflim yadai. Or benai karla macharav. Or the Irish karla, it's tzvi, sika b'derech, he bumps into tzvi, and nachash minoi. He has a snake on the right, Vishal Mismailer, he has a fox on the left. All these types of cases, one samach vavim and alf, he says, Al taschel bi. Don't start with me when the guy wants to collect money. He says, no, it's not good for me. It's a bad simon. Or shachashu, it's too early. Or reish chaydashu, mitzvah shabbasu. All those cases, what we're saying is very clearly, this is a menachish. They look at the weasel. They say, look, the chicken's going this direction. Therefore, we're not going to do X, Y, Z. All this is a person that's menachish. Okay, we're going to continue regarding skila. That's when you get skila. As long as if there's no asra, you'd get kars. The what? The chil Shabbos have it. So what is it? My answer is two roots, and one is tchumim. According to Rabbi Akiva. According to Akiva, it's going to be tchumim hinavara v'alibed Rabbi Yaisi, like we just said, the lav yatzas, and Rabbi Akiva learned out tchumim from the psukim. Zok the heilige Mishnah mekalel aviv v'imay, person who's mekalel's father's mother in a chayiv et shikal and b'shem until he curses them taka with yud kei vavke. Kill them b'kinai with shaka, tzvakas, etc. That's a machlekes from Meir mechayiv v'chachamim paitrim. Zok the Gemara man chachamim. Who is these chachamim? They were saying the apotter, Rabbi Nachman Yaisi, the time of Nachman Yaisi, ben nokvay, when a person is mekalel shame, you must matam alam shame, limin mekalel v'imay shein chayiv until what? Ad shikal v'shem. However, we learned this earlier. What's Rameir going to learn? Shame. Shame b'shame. Right? That we learned it needs a double. Tana Abanan, ish. It says in the pasuk, if you look inside the pasuk, it says ish, ish. So ish, matam alam ish, ish. The Maran says, you know what it says by Mikal ish, ish. Le rabbis but tumtem ad droigenus a sheikal is ovis, if it's ima then he's chayiv. Ainli ela aviv v'ima, where you curse them together. However, aviv, if you just curse your father without your mother, shalei ima, or ima shalei aviv, minaitem. Laima aviv v'ima kilal. Your father, your mother curse, damabai. Aviv kilal, ima kilal, whether it's one or both, doesn't make a difference. They're very Yeshia. Until we find it, since it says the vav, he wants to say it's meisav al Indian rishon, just like we see. It says leisachshar b'shar b'chamar yachtav. Why do I have to say yachtav? Elamai vav is an oi. Mois Yumas, it says clearly in the end of the pasuk that a person should die if such a person is makal. Maybe it's herek, chenek, etc. Never can beklal dam aviv, and never lalon says by aviv daini dman bam. Ma lalon is beskila, afkan is beskila. Ayne shamana zarminai. Tamalayma says alakim leisekalo. If you look inside the end of the pasuk, v'gaymen it says v'nasi v'amcha leisar. So now we're going to make a gzer shavas and it's not a shavas. We're going to try to see by nasi the amcha and the alakim and melech. Says in Ma'ayav dayin that what? If your father was a dayan, because we're learning him as a loshin dayan, not loshin kodesh. V'mayav nasi, like at the end of the passage says nasi ba'amcha rebechlav nasi ba'amcha leisar. So ein alay dayan v'lay nasi minayin. How do you know you can't curse your father? Hamartarei tadan binyan av mishneim. That what the nature is not like each other. Loyri zeh kiri zeh. Loyri nasi kiri dayan. We're going to see why the nature of a nasi is different than a dayan. Loyri dayan kiri nasi. Loyri dayan kiri nasi sharei dayan. You have to listen to him at the mitzvah l'arasai. Kiri nasi she at the mitzvah l'arasai. V'loyri nasi can't compare nasi kiri dayan shan nasi at the mitzvah l'arasai. We all know there's a murder but malchus such a type of concept. Kiri dayan she at the mitzvah l'arasai. What's the tzad of shavim shebehem? Shein ba'amcha. V'atamuzah kolasan. Afani avi avicha shebe'amcha v'atamuzah kolasan. Frek tomorrow mala tzad of shavim shebehen. There nasi and a melech, a nasi and a dayan. Sorry, they're chashuv. Shaban Shengen Gedulas and Garmelan. Tamalayma says Leisekalel Cherish. It's talking about the Shvalim Bumalum Shamamcha Kasim Adaber. For tomorrow, you can't compare the two. Mala Cherish, she's in the water in the bottom of the barrel. Shekei Cherishasa Garmelai. Nasi Vidain Chichu. Mala Nasi Vidain Shengen Gedulas and Garmelan Cherish Shechiach Chazar Din Larizek Rezev Larizek Rezev. What's the Tzash man? Shehem Ba'amcha Ba'atamuzal Kolasim. So too Avani Avi Avicha Shem Amcha Ba'atamuzal Kolasim. That's what we're trying to do to make it a Tzad Shavim from a Mala from a Nasi and a dayan. It's almost like what we call today with taxes with middle class. Who gets hurt the most? The middle people. So the cherish is a shvolim, and the nasi and the dayan is chashuv. We couldn't learn from one of each other. Why do they have to say elakim and a nasi? So Zakta Marni and Nichel Amanda Elohim is a chol. It means a dayan. Amanda Kodesh means the Rebbeinu Shalom Michael Ameimad. The Tanya Elohim is chol. It's a dayan. Rishma Kivaim Elohim Kodesh. V'Tanya Belezim Yaakov Aimar Zahar Lemachas Hashem Minayin Elohim. It says Elohim Lesakal. Lemanda Elohim chol. Gama Kodesh Mechol. You can learn as a kol. Shekin Lemanda Elohim Kodesh. Elohim is Kodesh. Kamina Chol Kodesh. So fact the Marbish Amanda Elohim. It's a dayan chol. Gama Kodesh Mechol. We can understand the Madach. You can't curse a dayan. Kol Shekin you can't curse the Rebbeinu Shalom. Elamanda Elohim Kodesh. You can't curse the Rebbeinu Shalom. I'll tell you. Gama Chol Mechodesh Mechatesi. Delma Kodesh Azer. Achol and a dayan lo yazer. There's no problem. My answer is Imkein Lichti Kro Leisakel. Nice Leisakalel, the extra lamit, Shmamin Atarti, to tell us the word Bein a dayan, Bein the Rebbeinu Shalom, on the top of Samach Vavim and Beis by the Mishnah. Haba, again we continue with what? Skila. Haba, Al Naira, Hamirasa, Ein Chavish Teba, needs four things. She has to be a Naira. We're going to see if Lafuki Ktan or not. We're going to see the Gemara. She has to be a Psula. She has to be a Marasa. And she has to be a Beisavio. Bolish Naim. You have to see if two people boil her. She's still a psula. For example, both of them were boiler were shalei kedarka. A rishon is beskila because the ma'aser who's over on a psula. Vasheni is bechenek even though shalei kedarka. Zok the Gemara tana abana naira v'lei begaris. It says in the third naira to tell us the fuka begaris. Besula is v'lei beula. Ma'irasa is v'lei nesua. Beisavia is prat l'shemasa av l'shlucha about. Rav zu diver meir. Avachacham imayrim naira murasa afilu ktana b'mashma. Not naira v'lei begaris. Even a ktana. Naira is a two-way street. Amle rachem difta levina mi ma'idem as nisar meir lemutik ktana nami. Delmar bani hu lemutik begaris suloi mechatesi coming on ktana also. Amalei ha'ein achayv, it says ad until shetei naira, until she's a naira besula marasa. Achayv ala naira besula marasa. And ad shetei naira besula marasa. It should say in achayv ala al naira marasa mivayle. If you talk a hell that it's not a ktana. Besula median lamaisa. There's nothing further discussed. Lachar it's a bomb raya. Boy minei Rav Yaakov bar Adam Rav Ba laktana. So machara she's not mechayiv an ancient. Ba ktana marasa. Lera meir. What is the halacha according to our mayor? Do we say like gamre might lay? I meskila dafka from skila and shogachanik might lay. Amalei mistar meskila might lay dafka from skila, but avad you getting a misa. In fact, the marva vaksev umesu gam shneyem achu shnei shavin. The ma'isa that what? She's not shavin. She's not going to get punished. So shasik Rav was quiet. Amishmul my time shasik Rav. Name le meisesh ashishachav ima levadoi. And levadoi can tell you also get killed alone. More answers get to know like it says amesagam shneim achu shnein shavin dever Rabbi Yeshua. Yonasan Aimer says a Mesa Esha Sheshachav Ima Levadai. V'idach, what's Rabbi Yonasan going to say? Ayu Mesa Gam Shnei My Darshpe. Rav Alamuti Masechet Dudim. If a person just puts the Afer, doesn't put it into her guf, therefore he's chayv. V'idach nach. You don't have to tell. You would think you're chayv. Come on, not. V'idach. Rabbi Yisha would tell you, noch. Masechet Dudim. You don't need the Torah to tell you potter. Lav klumi. V'idach, what is Rabbi Yisha going to lie levadei by darshpei? What's he going to do with the levadei? My answer is, the Tanya, Bo Allah, Sar b'nei Adam, Adayni b'sula. They're all doing a shalaika darka, kula meskila. Rabbi Yisha, no. Dafka rishon, because it says levadei b'skila, v'kula, and everyone else is going to get the chenek. Tana Rabbanan says, Ubas ishkain, he sachel, seichel listeners, that what she's mechal sabesnus. Rabbi Yisha chila, that's what it means, that she started off, the first one, she started off, that's what was mechal. V'cheinu Yisha, mesa isha, sheshachav ima levadei. So my comment, what shaykh is? What do you see from the pasuk of Meisha? Isha shachach avim levadai. Amar Avuna Beit Shor Rabbi Kerishmal Sibirlei. The Amar what? Arusas Yatzal Esreifa Ulaynisu. Achi Kamar. Tchilas Bias Nus was Besreifa V'idach. If it's a Beula already, she gets bechenek. So my v'chein. What's the extra? What's that pasuk telling us? Ki hasam. Ma hasam just like over there Beskila Betchilas Bia Kamishtai Kra. Hachinam Besreifa Betchilas Bia Kamishtai Kra. Amar Bibi Rabbi Mar Loi Hachi Mar. Mar Loi Hachi. Amar, you didn't say who's the Mar, Umani who's the Mar of Yosef. Rabbi Karmer Svili Dam and Nisas Lechem and Absulim Isas Mechanik V'achikam. This is what he's saying. Tchilas Achalasa was Biznos, then while she gets Besreifa. V'idach, for example, let's say she marries a Nasi or Mamzer, she marries a Mamzer. She married a Mamzer, she gets Mechanik. Umay V'chein, what are you going to say with the pasuk of Andai? Simona Ba'alma to tell us that, well, just like a Tchilas, a Chilul, it's only for Simon. Okay. One, the final daf, yesterday's daf Hayomi. Zok the Hedek Mishnah. Hamesis, again, we're talking about regarding skila. What is a mesis? Zeh hedit. Dafka, someone who's doing it to hedit. There was mesis. However, Navi that's mesis, he doesn't get skila, he gets chenek. And we're going to see this in the Gemara. Mesis, and who are you mesis? Is dafka lebehedit. Dafka to hedit. However, not the rabbi. Amar, he says, Yesh yira this avodah zama complaining kach lecheles. This is what he eats. Kach shais is what he drinks. Kach metiva, kach meria. Kol chayav mises. We all know shibatar. Ein machmin an aleim. Chutz mizu. We never want to entrap someone to get misa. Rather, what do? We give you asra. Adarabu, we don't want you to get misa. He tells two people, let's go serve Avodah Zarah. They are the Eidim. They don't need to find Eidim. Hey, Eidim. We kill him. Now he tells one person, so he needs Eidim. So what's he do? He tricks him. Writes him, friends, come, let me bring my friends over. Like that, they'll come like Eidim. If he's smart, this guy who's saying that there's already a name, he knows he doesn't want to Eidim. So what do? You put Eidim behind the fence. Tell me what you told me earlier. And he tells them that come, let's go serve Avodah Zarah. But they give him a warning, they give him a chance. How can we go serve the Getchkas? And he answered, we're going to go what? Serve the Eitzim Avanim. So if Itaka responds, says, you know what, you're right. It's all Getchkas, let's go back. I raise him mutav. Rebbeinu Shalom is nothing. He's the real Getchka. Then the people from behind the fence maybe nice to the best mistake. Nice and give him skila. Haimer. We're going to see multiple options. All those cases Yechayiv. El Evite. I serve, or Eilich v'Evad, I'm going to go and serve, or Neilch v'Evad, let's all go and serve. Or Ezabeach, Eilich v'Ezabeach, or Neilch, let's all go over Ezabeach. Same thing with Akter, Eilich v'Akter, Neilch v'Akter, same thing with Anasech, Eilich v'Anasech, or he says Neilch v'Anasech, in Ishtachave, Eilich v'Ishtachave, Neilch v'Ishtachave, doesn't make a difference. All those cases, any of these L'shayinais, you're considered a Mesis and Yechayiv. Now we said, Ha-Mesis zehedit, time of the hedit, Ha-Navi, if it's a Navi, gets Bechenek. V'amesis hesahedit, time of the yachid, the rabbi gets mechanik. So who is this Mishnah? Masnisa and Reb Shimoni. The Tanya Navi shehediach gets what? Meskila. Reb Shimon argues. Reb Shimon mechanik. Madir nidachas it gets meskila. And again Reb Shimon argues says mechanik. So our Mishnah is Reb Shimon. Correct the Gemara. Ema Seifa. Hamadiach, which is mamish the next Mishnah in a minute. It says Hamadiach za'aymer nelech v'navad avodas kachavim. And over there you get skila. And also the Manavshach, Reb Shimon, the first Mishnah. The ratio of the Mishnah is Reb Shimon that gets chenek, and the next Mishnah is Sefer Rabbani gets skila. Ratio Reb Shimon Sefer Rabbanan. So Ravina answers, I'm a cooler Rabbani. V'loizu avzuk tani avada everything bad same as Rabbanan. And the chiddush is, first we want to say, not just a Mesis who's a Yachid gets skila, even a Mesis the Rabbin, but avada we're not going like Reb Shimon. That is Ravina's teretz. Papa Amar Kiktani Mesis Zehedyet Lachmana. You know what Rav Shimon wants to say? What's it mean a Mesis Hedyet? Not coming Lafuke Navi. Rather, Mesis is a shaita because we entrap him. The Tanya V'Shakol Chayv Mitzvah B'Torah. Ein Machminin Alei. We don't entrap you. Chutz Mizu. Kate said Eisenlei. How do we entrap you? Madlikin Lai. It's a Nerebe Beis Apnimi. We turn on the lights in his house like that. He can't see outside, like at nighttime. Put Adam outside the issue. He doesn't see them. He says, tell me what you said. Again, you have to do it in a way that he doesn't chap that you're trying to entrap him. You continue the conversation the way, whatever, how you're going to do it. So again, what do you mean? What do you do? Okay, we're on the Mishnah over here, Mediach. When the final Mishnah of the Parak Hamediach, he convinces the city, Irni Dachas, we're going to see in a moment, it's considered Irni Dachas. Is a Isa Ma'isa. When a person does kishuv, he has to really do kishuv. It can't be illusion. You can have two people gathering cucumbers. One does it with kishuv, and one does it by illusion. So echad like it potter, echad like chayiv. Isa Ma'isa, if he does mamish kishuv chayiv. Eiches is anayim, he's potter. Zok the Mara, reviewed them, Rav Medicha Irni Dachas. We're talking about when Dicha means Irni Dachas Shanukan. Ha-mechashiv means taka Ma'isa kishuv, Zayisa Ma'isa v'chulei. Taner Abanon. Says in the Torah, Machshefa. And we all know, Echad the Ish, V'echad the Isha. There's no question about it. By Ovi Daini we know, where it's Kishuv, the Torah is not Mechalik. So there's no Chilik. And came Matamalai Machshefa. Why does he use a Lashon of a Machshefa of a woman? So how do they get killed? Regarding the Zainu Umas, it says over there, Leisachai Kol Neshama. Ma'alalon, we know about the Zainu Umas is B'Sayif. Afghan B'Sayif. If you keep Ayman, Nama Kam Machshefa Leisachai, and Namalalon, in Behemam Ish, regarding Har Sinai, over here it says it is different. L'shainas. Sichit Yechon. The Gemara is going to question this. Ma'alalon Meskila Afghan Meskila. So Raisi tells him, Raisi, Ani Danti Leisichim Leisichia. What are you doing? Why do you do like me? Amalei Rekiva, Ani Danti Yisrael Yisrael. Har Sinai. The Kishav is Yisrael to Yisrael. Shurim Mekosef. Mises Arba. Va'at Danta from the Zayin Umis. Me'av the Cham Shalei Riva Van Kosef Ella. Rather Saif. Ella Misa Achas. One Sabach Zayin in the base. Ben Azayim. It says in the pasuk Nema Machsheva Leisachaya. Ben Nema Kol Shechem Ve'ema Masumas. Since it's samach to each other, samach in Eloi. Mashechim Mashechim Ve'ema we know gets skila. Mechashev gets skila. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda V'chim B'nei Samach in Eloi. Nights Elizeb skila just because it's right near each other. They're going to get skila. Eloi v'yuduni b'chlal machshefim hayu v'lama yatzu lahakish alen to compare v'lama l'chamal v'yudani gets b'skila machashev gets b'skila. Rabbi Yehuda frek nemar Rabbi Yehuda nami lahava v'yudani. It's shnei ksuvim b'ang echad v'chol shnei ksuvim b'ang echad nemelamden. My answer is no. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who actually holds. This tells us Zayis Emeres at Rashi. Amr kasav Rabbi Yehuda shnei ksuvim b'ang echad punkt v'karet we are in melamden. And this is Taka the Makar. More in Sanhedrin. Why is it called Kishav? It's called Kshafim. Zaktik Marshim Shemachishim that contradict Pamal Shemalyo. That if someone's supposed to live, these Kshafim could kill you. Ein oid milvadoi. We all know this pasuk after Reisa Ladaski. Ein oid milvadoi. Amar Chanina afilu dvak Kshafim. Even for Kshafim, if the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't want you dead, you're not going to die. Ahi ita said the Gemara says Amaisa was a woman that become a hajjal mishkal after mitusei chared Reb Chanina. She was talking to Reb Chanina, and he saw that this machshefa was taking dust, and he was doing kishuf, and he's going to kill him. Amallah, don't worry. Because the only way you're going to be successful to kill me is if the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. So what do you see from here? We just said a second ago, that means they could go and kill you even though the Rebbeinu Shalom says not to. The nafis chusei. Chanina was such a high level that he was nafis chusei. Therefore, they worked for him, but a typical person, and machshefa could kill him even if he's not all lemisa. Amar Rav Ayavu bar Nagri, Amar Chaya bar Abba. Says in the pasuk as follows. V'yasukein, we all know this is recently, regarding the Makkos, it says, V'yasukein chartume Mitzrayim, what did they do? Bila teheyim. Elu, when it says ever in the Torah, Bila teheyim, it means they did it with Shadim. Elu ma'isa Shadim. However, when it says also, Chagam cheim chartume Mitzrayim Bila teheyim, that's Elu ma'isa Kshafim, then they did it with Kishuv and not with Shadim. They were able to do it on their own. V'cheinu Aimer, it says in the pasuk, in the beginning of Bereshis, V'slahat Ha-cherev ha-misapeches. We're talking about the cherev is going around and around. Amar Abai, the cup in amana, when it's what? He's relying on one utensil shaped. The light cup in amana, if he doesn't have to rely on one utensil, on a kli, then he can do what? Real kshaf. Amar Abai, Hilchas kshafim is very similar to Hilchas Shabbos. Why? Yeshman b'skila. Such a concept could be chayv skila, v'yeshman potter, avalasar, and v'yeshman mutter l'chila. Could have three options. Ha'isem maisa, we all know he gets b'skila. And eiches is anayim, regarding Avodah Zarah, he just does illusion, he's potter avalasar, and mutter l'chila. Where do you have a what? Kishav mutter l'chila, k'tev chanina, v'aishia, komal, shabbos, we said this earlier. Every Arab Shabbos have asked b'hilchas etzira, they created people, and they created this what? The calf to eat. Umivla egla tilsa, v'achlile, again, shlish l'betin, or third in its growth. Amar Vashi chazina l'lavua. The karna, the what? He says lavua the karna. The karna's father was actually a big mechashif. The nafitz v'shadi kricha d'sharayim in echira. He would sneeze and silk would come out of his nose as kishuf. We all know this. We learned this many times. That what? Amar relazim mikan shein shade. Yachal levaris barrier pachas mekasayir regarding the kinim. They couldn't do it because it was less than a barley. Papa Amar elakim afilu kagamel anamile matzi bari. Hi michnefle, v'hai loy michnefle. Rather, they were able to gather big animals the way they do it. They never created something. They were able to bring animals to come together. Amalei Rav Ler B'chia Lididi Chazali who I saw Hautaya, which means a shmol. We have this in Babasa L'Slosh the Shakle L'Safsira. The guy de Gamal, he was able to take a what? He took a cherev and he chopped off this gamal. The tarif lay b'tavala v'kam, and he rang the bell and it got up. So it looked like kishuf. Amalei the basa hachi dam apart to me. When you look back in the ground, did he see blood and everything? He says no. He says no. Ella rather he achizas and aimav, just an illusion, but avah there was nothing going on. Mar says a fascinating ma'isa zeiri ikla where lachsandra shemitzrayim was full of kishuf, and he bought a donkey zav and chamara. Kimat lashkuya now kishuf it disappears whenever you come to water. Lashkuya maya poshern so it dissipated and become kamla. Duskanisa and it turned into a board. So he wanted his money back. He goes back to the guy who sold it. Amalei loves Irat. If it wasn't you, I never would have gave you back money. Mika desavi midi hachvel. You should know better. It's full of kishuv and it's full of water. Yanai, none of the mice zaktamar. Yanai ikla lahu shpiza. He went to certain in. So Amalei ishkamai, could you give me a cup of water? So kriva shesisa, they gave him water full of flour. Chazat kamarachshon sefavase shada. He saw that the people giving the water were whispering. One of these stewardess, etc. Portamine have akavi. He spilled a little water and turned into scorpions. So Amalu, he made believe that he didn't know what was going. He says, Ana I drink from yours, you should drink from mine. Atanami shatim midi. Ashke, they drank it, have a chamra. She turned into a donkey. So Rechava Salik Lashuka, he went onto the donkey and he took it to the shuk. Asa Chaverta, her friend comes and Pashala, and he's able to get rid of this kishuv and chazeh. And the El said, do you see that what? The Yanai, the Rachav, this is Shuka, he walks, he was able to go on the lady in the shuk. Well, really it was a donkey. Okay, then it says, so it's a big machlekes. We learn today as children, most kids learn how did the Makkah Mitzrayim of Tzvardeh happen, that they whacked the Tzvardeh and it came out of his mouth more and more. Here we're going to see it's a machlekes. Amar lazit Tzvardeh achas haisa. And a shritza gave a bunch of babies and Malayas kalarts Mitzrayim. Betzim it's a machlekes ketanoi rekiva ayim Tzvardeh achas haisa malay kalarts Mitzrayim. However, Beleza argues, Amar le Beleza ben Azariah Kiva. Malachat zel agada, you don't belong here. Kalei midvarsecha, leave the agada velechat zel nagam v'olis. Where there's a lot of cheshbonites for day achas haisa. It was really once for day, but Shiraka he gave a big crook lamb of ham. They bone they came. However, we learn. Most children learn not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rather, we learn like Rabbi Kiva. Mitzvah Hashem. Next week we're going to pick up from the bottom of the daf by the two dots.